Okay, hello everyone. So thank you for being here. I can see your names, I cannot see your faces. Thank you for being here. My name is Adriana Ramirez, and on the screen you can see my website. You can contact me through my website, and you will find a lot of information on my website about my books and my videos and all the things that I do. So thank you for being here. I'm going to be talking for around 40 minutes. So if you have questions, I will leave some time at the end to answer the questions. There is a space on your Zoom that is a Q&A, questions and answers. So you start typing your questions there. The moment you have them, just type them there. And at the end, I can see them from here, but I will just go to them at the end. Or probably if I see a lot of questions, I will stop some time and then start answering, then go back and answering. But anyways, if you have a question, just type it there and hopefully we'll get over all the answers. So, um, well, again, thank you for being here. I am originally from Colombia. I have been living in Canada for a lot of years, and I teach Spanish in Canada. I teach beginners. Here is grade 9 beginners, then level 2 grade 10s, and then I take them in IB, which is International Baccalaureate. IB and AP are very similar. The curriculum is very similar, and we overlap a lot of themes and topics. So what I want to share today with you is how a classroom novel, the power of a classroom novel in the advanced levels. Now, novels are always very powerful, super powerful, every time, every level. But I find with the advanced curriculums, IB and AP, they give us so many tools and they allowed us to go in depth with the culture and so many things that it's just magical. So when I train teachers and we talk about the IB curriculum, I find some of them are overwhelmed with all the things that we are supposed to cover. I love the curriculum, it is fantastic, it's very open, but they are always wondering, like, how are they going to cover all of those things? So what I want to share today is with you is how with one novel, and I do 2 big novel studies during my IB classes. With one novel, you can actually cover almost half of the curriculum, and you can check, 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 check. And so it's just fantastic. So this is what we're going to do today. I'm going to start now. How with one CI novel you can cover several of the IB AP curriculum topics in a very compelling way and with meaningful connections to students' lives, cultures, and current events. As part of our curriculum, everything that we do, we have to help the students, because we're educating global citizens. We have to help the students always make connections with their lives and their cultures, and comparing cultures, seeing how they bring their own culture to this new culture that they're learning. So with one novel, we can make lots of connections with their lives, their cultures, and what is happening right now in the world. So I'm going to go over the AB curriculum right now. It's in Spanish. I will translate it. And at the end, when I show you everything, I'm going to show it to you again in English. And I'm going to show you all the things that I cover with one novel. So it's 5 big themes. And within those themes, we have like sub themes to help you, like to guide you as a teacher, how to cover one theme. So as you can see, it's like super open. It's just beautiful. It's just allowing you to teach the language. That's it. So identities is talking about lifestyles, beliefs and values, health, subcultures. Sharing the planet is global warming, the environment, globalization, peace, conflict, all those important topics. I'm just going over it generally. Experiences, so we talk about leisure, traditions, life stories, migrations, travel, holidays. Human ingenuity, we talk about communication and media, entertaining, artistic expressions, science, technology. And social organizations, we talk about the working world, community, law, order, social relationships, So as you can see, it's very broad, and it gives the teacher a lot of freedom to teach a lot of things within the Spanish culture in my case. And if it's the French culture, it's just the same. It would be the same for French, by the way. So it is just the same. So I want to show you, I want to use today this novel. I use this novel. I wrote this novel, El Cóndor de los Andes. I wrote it, I used it. Of course, I use it because I wrote it. I love it for that reason. And I wrote it specifically to use with my students because it covers a lot of those things. So it's El Cóndor de los Andes. You'll see the picture there. So what is your goal? Your goal when you're doing a classroom novel, besides reading and understanding the story, is that you have to build a really strong picture in their minds. You have to build in the student's head a clear picture and a strong background on the novel. It's just not the novel. It is not just reading the story and yeah, I finished. It's the story of the novel falling in place with all the background cultural information that goes around that story. But you have to create the space to build that for the students. So as an IB teacher, you also need to make connections with TOK. TOK is theory of knowledge. So to make those connections, I prepare personalized questions that allow me to do that. Personalized questions, PQ, I don't know if you're familiar with that. When you do TPRS and when you are in the CI world, you do a lot of personalized questions, meaning like you bring everything that you're learning in class and you throw it back to the students in a personal way. When it's in the lower levels, you can come with the personalized questions on the spot because it's easy. Like, what did you do last weekend? What did you eat today? Where are you going to go on your holiday? So it's just more simple questions. But I find when I am in the higher levels, the personalized questions I want them with the purpose of making a connection with TOK. I want them to be more complex. I want them to be more elaborate, and I want to make sure they include more complex structures like subjunctive and preteritos, like past tenses and all of those things. So I find that I have to plan them in advance. So I make a list of those questions that are related to the book, that are personalized, and that help me covering the theory of knowledge connections. So the personalized questions, every time I have a book, of course I read it before, they are related to the book and its content, and I have to make a connection or help the students make a connection with their lives and with what is going on right now, and the different ways of people seeing the reality and the world in general. So I do a PowerPoint. I cannot make those personalized questions on the spot if I really want them to be powerful, if I really want them to have at the same time the subjunctive there. I just can't not do them on the spot. So I prepare them and I throw them in a PowerPoint. The good thing is that once they're ready forever. So every time I do the novel, I will use the same questions. So some examples, I have a slide per question, and I might have 20, 30 questions, and I might not even cover all of them. I just have them all. I wrote a couple here, as you can see. So this would be on one slide and then on another slide. So when I throw a question as a class, I read the question and we start discussing. It's a way for us to start a conversation related to the book. By the way, I start doing this before we start reading the book. I have personalized questions for before we start reading the book, and I have personalized questions for before every chapter, and it's also my way of warming them up to the chapter, start using the words that are going to come up in the chapter. So we use them in a question, we discuss them, they feel familiar already with the expressions and the words and its meanings. So when they actually encounter the words in the chapter, they're already familiar with them and they understand them. So it's also a way, personalized questions are very powerful because it's a way of like preloading those new expressions and new words that are going to be in the novel. So for example, ¿por qué es la bicicleta un medio de transporte codiciado a nivel mundial? Why is biking, why are bicycles coveted means of transportation nowadays, like worldwide. So it's very open. It's already related to the book. It's already giving them a clue of what is going to happen. This first question, they don't know we're going to read the book yet. They don't know what is going to come yet. So we're talking about means of transportation and bicycles. So this question opens any kind of conversations about global warming. We start talking like why biking is so important and is a responsible means of transportation, which countries do a lot of biking. So a lot of students, I have a lot of students that come from China, and they share with us how using bicycles is really common there. We talk about some countries in Europe that biking has become really important and people have ditched their cars. So everyone starts bringing their culture, which is the idea. Like we're learning about each other, and we're talking like the pros and cons of biking, who bikes to school. So it's like we're starting to warm up about the topic in a global way. Another question. So I don't time that. Like one question might take 5 minutes for us discussing it. One question might take the whole class, or 20 minutes or 30 minutes. You never know. So I don't, if the class is hooked with one question, just right away with them. Do not stop, because at the end, our job as comprehensible input teachers is that we are creating spaces to communicate with our students in a meaningful way. So if they are engaged and they want to share with you their thoughts and everyone is engaged in the conversation, do not stop. If you feel the conversation is wrapping up, then move on to another question. So I don't have a magic recipe for how many questions do you do per day. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. It's just like a gut feeling that you see the energy of your class. For example, the next question, ¿qué significa tener una voluntad de hierro? Es algo importante. ¿Por qué? So that means like, what does it mean to have like an iron will, like to have a strong will, strong personality? Is it something important, and why? So 2 things. First, now I'm starting to use expressions from the book. Voluntad de hierro is something that I know they don't know. I know it's a concept, it's a mental concept. So and it's part of the book. And I'm also making a connection with lifestyles, because part of the B curriculum is learning about lifestyles, like people in the Spanish world or French or whatever. So part of this lifestyle of this person, the main character of this book, is his personality. He has a strong will, and that is what has helped him get where he is at right now. I know when they encounter the word voluntad de hierro in the chapter, they don't know what it is. So my job with the PQA is preloading those expressions before. So when they see them and they're reading the chapter, they already know what it is. So of course, I have to explain what voluntad de hierro is. I explain, sometimes I need to translate, like what is the meaning in English, the equivalence. I always try to explain in Spanish first and give examples until someone says, like, gets it and say the equivalent in English in the class. I try not to speak in English in class. And then, yes, that's it. And then, so we start giving examples. When do you have that? In which cases do you know someone like that? Always bringing your culture, your personal experience. Why is it important? So those are just a couple examples, but I have a full PowerPoint of examples with that. Okay, so let me go back. Yeah, okay. So another step in this process of reading a novel and making it comprehensible and helping the students really get what is going on here, really go beyond the story. It's not just reading a novel, it's going beyond the story and all the cultural pieces that the novel brings. So I always try to attach music to any novel I do. And I have found that there is music for almost any novel I want to do. Either if I wrote the novel or if someone else wrote the novel, I always find a song that will help me convey the message, convey the feeling, the culture, everything. So for me, the song is as important as the novel itself. They go together. It's like the music to the novel I cannot do a novel without a song. It's just so important. So in this case, For El Cóndor de los Andes, I found that Carlos Vives, who is also from Colombia, has a song that is called El Orgullo de mi Patria, and he wrote it in honor of all the cyclists that we have in Colombia. Cycling in Colombia, it's huge. It's a very big subculture, another part of the IB curriculum, and he wrote this for them. So before we start the novel, I do all the way, like I introduce songs in a specific way. So I introduce the song, I give them the lyrics. Of course, I give them time to translate and make sure they understand everything that is being said in the lyrics. They might ask me or they can ask a friend. And then we sing the song every single day while we're doing the novel study. I want that song to be part of who they are. When I do songs, I don't want just to play a song and then they see the song and they see the video and checked. No, no, no. Music is very important for us as Spanish people. It's in our blood. We cannot live without music. And I want that feeling in them as well. I want them to get to make the song theirs. So later in a year, in 2 years, when they listen to the song, they're like, oh my God, remember that song, and they know the lyrics. So before we do every day for the 2 or 3 weeks that I take doing the novel, I'm gonna start the class playing that song. They have the lyrics, they sing it. The first week they're usually shy, but then they get so inspired and they're all singing and they just love it. And because these are IB kids, they want to be there. Most of them want to be there. So they actually want to sing. They feel the song. They learned so many words and expressions from one song naturally. They don't even know they're learning. I can see that because then when we do some writing later at the end, like that's like a final assessment of the novel, they bring song words and expressions that they took from the song without knowing. And I just love that. So I do a whole introduction of the song, of course, and I movie talk the video of the song, and we talk about Carlos Vives. We talk about the video has a lot of symbolism that talks about my country. So we talk about that. I explain them that it shows the mountains, it shows the people that live on the countryside, how they move around. So it has a lot of things that actually help me convey the message of the story. And it's beautiful because it gives them a clear picture of how the country looks like, on how like the people that use bikes, like the roads and the mountains and all of that I really want to create in their heads. I want them to play a movie in their heads when they're reading the book, but it's really hard for them if they have not been to Colombia. So the song is giving me those visuals, the images that I need them to load in their heads. So when they're reading the book, they have a background to set up the characters and the story. So yeah, so the song, super important. So far we have personalized questions and we have the song. If you have questions, start throwing them there. I don't see any questions yet, but start throwing them there and we can maybe pause a little bit and answer some questions. Okay, so then we're reading the book. I varied the reading of the book. Sometimes I read aloud with them and they follow. Sometimes, depending on the difficulty of the chapter, I know the difficulty of the chapter. I have them like reading with a partner. I tell them, read this chapter by yourself. Or I read a chapter with them and I ask them to reread the chapter at home. So we've been doing the song. I have preloaded them with personalized questions. We've been reading the book, talking about it. And then at the end, when I have done all of those things, videos, songs, discussions of personalized questions and picture talks, I also do videos. I'm going to talk about that later. This is like 2 weeks into the novel. We're almost finished with the novel. So all the vocabulary related to cycling, it's already in their heads, everything. They are so familiar with that new way of expressing, with all those new words are so familiar. So there I get articles from the internet, like news articles. I get blogs, the so-called authentic articles, and then I give it to them, and they're ready to read them because they understand most of the words already, and the few ones that they don't understand, they can figure it out because of context. I usually read the articles with them first, but sometimes depending on the level of the article, I let them just explore and do the reading by themselves, and then we do some comprehension questions together. So how do you, like a lot of questions, a lot of people tell me, like, how do you have them reading authentic articles without them feeling overwhelmed? This is how I do it. Like, I take a CI novel that is written for their level, and the CI novel is the scaffolding that is going to help me taking them to the authentic resources, and they're going to feel so comfortable with them. So I have current news reports, articles, infographics that we read as a class or with a partner. So I am getting some questions now. I'm going to answer some of them. So I have one. How do you break the book down and pace how fast you go through it? I'm doing a novel with my students, but we are spending a lot of time on it by having awesome conversations. I see them every day. And I usually take 3 weeks to go over a novel. And I see them every day for like 70, 75 minutes. So when I am doing, where's the question? Awesome conversations. That's fantastic. And when I'm doing the 3 weeks of the novel, I know I'm covering so many curriculum stuff. I'm not worried because I'm covering all these steps, all this stuff, all these things, all these topics. And at the end and at the same time, they're learning so much Spanish that I'm not worried. I try to keep them engaged. And I'm changing the activities, doing a picture talk, doing a movie talk, reading a chapter, asking some questions, having a discussion, reading an article, going back to a chapter of the novel, like going back and forth. Okay, so I think I answered that one. What level is this novel? This novel is level 4. This novel is level 4. I read it with my IB students during the first semester, so it would be for them, like technically they are level 3, but they have learned Spanish with CI, so they are quite advanced. So I read it with them during their first semester of IB, which is technically level 3, but the book is level 4. What types of assessments do you do afterwards? At the end, I just do one assessment. Like we've been talking all the time. So assessing, we have to understand that assessment is also a feedback for us as teachers. So within the daily conversations and personalized questions and discussions and everything, I am assessing my way of providing them with comprehensible input, and that helps me changing what I'm doing or not, or adjusting something. So it's like a constant assessment of the comprehension. If I know everyone is engaged and everyone is comprehending, then we're fine. So at the end, when I finish everything, we do a piece of writing, and we have to teach them different kinds of writings. We have to teach them blogs, articles, news reports, diary entries, letters. Like we have to teach them how to write all those formats. So I prepare my assessments related to the novels, and I prepare 3 options, and they have to choose one of them. They don't have to study. That's the beauty of comprehensible input. They don't have to study. You've been here for 3 weeks. You've been reading. You've been engaged with the conversation. You should be able to write this. So I give them 3 options. The way I write my options are really like similar, or like the way the IB exam is, so they get used to like the way they ask questions, so it's easy for them, and it's very welcoming, and everyone feels successful, and then they choose an option and they write about it depending on what it is. What book can I use for a Spanish 2 high school? Oh, I have a beautiful book that I just wrote that is called Me Perdí en Medellín for a Spanish 2. If you go to my website, you will see it is super cultural, and you can do all of these things that I'm saying with the Spanish 2. I actually do it with my Spanish 2 students. And I do the same. I do the videos, I do the song. I have a song for that. Me Perdí en Medellín. If you go to my website and my YouTube channel, you will see a video on the book. Do you have a link or a web page? Yes, at the beginning of the session, I showed my website, www.adrianaramirez.ca. That you'll find a lot of my things there. And also I have a YouTube channel. You just type my name, Adriana Ramirez, teaching Spanish, and then you will get my YouTube channel. Okay, formative and summative assessment. Someone is asking here, Lucia Amaral, hola. So formative, like throughout every personalized question session is a formative assessment. Like I know everyone is answering, everyone is engaged in the discussion. If someone is not engaged, I will make sure I bring them. So it's giving me the idea of how well they are. They are usually, because they forget they're learning Spanish and they get hooked into the topic, I almost never have any problem with people participating. So that's my way. I don't do any quiz or exam throughout the novel. I just let them enjoy the process and enjoy the novel. And I do one at the end, a summative one at the end, which is the writing. And like what I've done, I have scaffolded the whole process for everyone to be successful at the writing, successful at different levels, but successful. So the formative happens throughout the novel, but not assigning grades or marks or nothing, just feedback for me to see like if I have to repeat this more, if I have to work on this concept more, if I have to do another movie talk, but the summative is at the end. Okay, someone is posting here. Is this a semester of school? Yes, it is a semester of school. So I see my students every day. It's like a university kind of style for 70, 75 minutes. It's a semester of school. How long does it take all the process of reading, and what is the order of the things you include in the process? Like video, song, questions, reading. What kind of books do you use for IB? These are the books that I use. Like novels that I use for IB are I use my novels, because the language is very authentic. So these are the novels that I use for IB. The language are very authentic, so I really like using these novels. I don't use any textbook for IB. I create my own units. What is the process that I use? I preload the book before I start reading the book. I will start with the PQ and the song that will start warming up everything. And then I start reading and alternating, like reading a paragraph, always PQ before every chapter, always PQ before every chapter, preloading all the words that they're gonna find in the chapter. And then alternating like a video. I'm gonna talk about the video after this, a video, picture, talk, like waved between chapters. Do you have any teacher materials, guides for any of your novels? I do. Like if you're interested, please contact me directly. Ooh. Any graphic organizers? What book do you use for second half of level 4? I want to talk about it a little bit more later, but I have this one, El Camino del Café. It's a little, the Spanish and the language is more advanced than El Condor de los Andes, so that's why I leave it for the second semester. It's very compelling. It's one of my students' favorite ones, and it closes. I do it just right before the exam, so it gives them like a well-rounded closing of the course, and off they go for the exams. There are so many good French novels as well. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to keep. I see some questions have been answered by other people. So, okay, I'm gonna go back to the questions later, and then go back to the presentation. Okay, so we were in the article. So I'm just gonna go and review this. So remember PQA, then the song, then the authentic articles are gonna be successful. You know, the IB and the AP exam, they should be ready to read authentic articles. So that's how we teachers scaffold them to get to this point without being frustrating for the students and without being boring. Because if you just throw an authentic article just for the sake of reading an authentic article, it's just like, why are we doing this? But when it is part of something they're learning and when it is part of something they are enjoying, they actually want to read it. And because you have a scaffolded the whole process and they know most of the technical words that are going to be hard because they were already in the novel, they're going to be fine. Okay, so authentic videos. So I get on YouTube, I love YouTube. So on YouTube, I get videos like news clips that we are supposed to use as IB and AP teachers, news clips, interviews, short 2, 3, 4 minutes. I get them on YouTube. And then I'm going to start using them, video talking them, pausing, discussing them, and helping the images of the video with the building of the background representation in their heads. So students are exposed to videos that talk about the topic. Because of all the activities mentioned before, they are already familiar with a lot of the most common words, and they feel very happy because in the videos, the Spanish is way faster than the pace that I use in class. In the videos, they can all start hearing the words and the expressions that we've been working with, so they feel so successful. They feel so successful because they are actually understanding the Spanish. Sometimes I rewind and I play it again, and the second time that they listen to it, they actually understand way more, so they feel so successful. And by the way, for the IB exam, there is we have, the webinar will last about 40 minutes total, so we have 15, 20 more minutes plus time for questions. Okay. Sorry, I got a message. So I forgot what I was saying. Oh, the IB exam, there is a listening part, a listening component is new for this year for the new curriculum, but I'm not worried about it because first I speak in Spanish the whole time, and they've used, they're used to listening all these videos, different accents, different Spanish places, so they're very familiar with that. And if they can understand this level of Spanish, they should be able to understand the IB level of the IB level of Spanish. So at the same time, these videos help me building more background and cultural representations and make the story in the book more meaningful to them. When they see, so this book is inspired in Nairo Quintana, which is one of our idols in Colombia. When they see Nairo in a video racing and winning, and how they like stand up on his bike and he races and he starts passing people and he gets to the end of the stage first. Oh my God, it's so powerful. They are so happy. They look at each other. They cannot believe it. It's such a strong connection for them. So I show videos about Colombia, cyclists, about the world. Like, as you can see, I have a picture here in Paris because one of the biggest cycling races in the world is in Paris, the Tour of France. So I show videos of them, and they see different groups, different teams, different competitors. They see the Colombian people, they see other people, they see all the audience. Okay, so we have videos, we have songs, and then pictures. So I get pictures because in the book, at the beginning of the book, I talk about how cycling is very important in Colombia and how it's the means of transportation when you live outside of the cities, and this is how people move like between their towns and up in the mountains. So I have pictures, and we do a lot of picture talk with this. These are actually pictures from Colombia. So this is how people in the countryside, like how they wear. They don't we don't wear jackets in the countryside. We wear what we call ruanas. And if you see the video of Carlos Vives, El Orgullo de Mi Patria, he's wearing one. We all have a ruana. So we wear our ruanas, we wear our hats, and then we ride our bikes. Cycling is such a big subculture in Colombia. Every Sunday in all of the big cities, we have something called ciclovías. So they shut down the main like streets in the city for the morning, like for 4 or 5 hours, so people can go out and run, bike, walk. So it's a very family oriented activity that happens every Sunday in all the main cities in my country. So it's like a subculture, is something big. And I love this picture because it's like a professional athlete, a professional cyclist, like going up and biking. And then he goes by this guy that this is what he does every single day with his groceries and everything. So I find this so beautiful and inspiring, and it fills my heart with love to see this, because this is why our cyclists are very, very good, because it's part of their blood and it's part of what they've been doing the whole life. And you can find that in El Condor de los Andes, like the whole story and explanation. Okay, so traveling. There's another part of the IB curriculum that talks about traveling. So holidays, traveling, and with a book, because throughout the book, Nairo Quintana goes to different races, and I show pictures when he's in France, when he's in Italy, when he's in Spain, and we see the races, and I show videos of him crossing the finish line, and we see the people around, and actually there is a big like traveling, like people travel to go and see these races. So this is an excuse to go traveling, go and see the race, go and see your favorite cyclists, go and see the final ceremonies for this. It's huge, it moves a lot of people. So we can also cover that as an experience and make connections with other cultures, and how the Spanish culture gets together with the French culture and the Italian culture, because we share so many things. Okay, so now to wrap it up, and before I go back to answering my more questions, so here is the IB curriculum now in English. So look, all the highlighted ones are the things that I cover with one book. And I know I cover them very in depth, very in depth. Urban and rural environments. We talk like, this is what we do. Like in Colombia, in the rural environments, we move with bicycles because it's easier, it's cheaper, is people have access to them. Students come and bring their own culture experiences. I have students, I'm very lucky, I have students from a lot of different parts of the world, so we can share, and the conversation is very rich because we can share differences. How do we move in the city? How do we move in the countryside? Should we move in the city more the way people move in the countryside, meaning with bicycles? So we cover that. Customs and traditions, we do. Leisure, biking is a way of spending your free time. Travel, as I said before, we cover travel. We actually talk about going to these races, different places. I show them different places in Italy and France because it's related to the race. Life stories. This is such an inspirational life story. Entertainment, cycling. It's a big entertainment thing in Europe and in Colombia. It's like a reality show. When the race is happening, it's like a reality show. Like everyone in Colombia stops everything that they're doing, the same we do with soccer, to watch the news, to watch the race, what is happening, or they're listening to the radio while they're doing other stuff. So it's like a huge entertainment party. Like in the United States, when you guys get together with the for the Super Bowl, like a huge thing, we get together for cycling. We get together for the last stage. We get together, like it is the same, but I want them to see that, because they're used to one perspective of the world. Like, so they cannot believe we don't care about the Super Bowl. They are like, what? Yeah, no, it doesn't exist in our world, but this exists in our world. So I want them to open their worldview and see that every culture has a different important event. So yes, we have that discussion and we cover these lifestyles, of course, cycling being part of our lifestyle, health and well-being, I don't even have to explain that. Subculture, I don't even have to explain that. We even go in depth with what we eat to give us energy, which is not energy bars. If you're from Colombia, you're familiar with agua panela y bocadillo. It's the best source of energy that we can get. Community. Yeah, they believe cycling is a sport. It's an individual sport, and it blows their mind when they realized cycling, it's a group, it's a team sport, and they cannot believe it. It's a team sport. You can win if you have a team behind you. If you're by yourself, you will never win. So this is very beautiful. And then we talk about the importance of the support of your community and social relationships. So when we finish reading this, I have this one, Rigo, that I also wrote. This is why I don't do this as a novel. I do this as a novel just because I don't have a specific reason. I do this as a novel, but I have this one in my free voluntary reading library. So I tell them, now that we read these, please, when you have a time and you feel like it, go and read this one. So because through doing El Cóndor de los Andes, I prepared them to read this one. So when they get to this one, they understand everything and they enjoy the book a lot. So I am like helping them building a stronger representation of all the things that I taught them. So it's like I went over these things and I allowed them to go over everything again when they read the book by themselves. And when I do this one at second semester, I also cover the things that you see in yellow, plus the things that you see underlined with this one. So I am covering the same stuff, which is great because like I am helping them really acquire all information and feel comfortable about all these topics. But at the same time, I'm covering extra ones with this book. This book is really beautiful. I recommend it. And then the other topics, I just cover them with other things that we do in class, like when I talk about immigration and when I talk about gender stereotypes and all those things. So I get to cover everything. I actually cover every single thing. Check. Okay, so I think I finished talking. I'm going to go to the questions. Let's see if I have new questions here. Any graphic organizers? I don't have any graphic organizers. How long are the novels? How long are the novels you use? How many chapters, pages? El Cóndor de los Andes has 9 chapters and pages is like 60 pages. It's a shorter novel. And El Camino del Café, I believe it has 9 chapters as well, and it has 100 pages. They're very authentic. Like my Spanish is my first language. So when I write, I'm bringing the authenticity of the first language of the native speaker. So when people say authentic resources, my novels are already authentic resources because I'm using my first language. Actually, my novels are read in schools in Colombia for like younger students when they're learning how to fall in love with reading. And if you give them a very thick novel, it will be overwhelming. But if you give them a shorter one, they will fall in love with it. So it's like for them, it's reading in Spanish, natural Spanish. It doesn't sound forced or weird to them. Okay. Do you have any suggestions? No, I have to go, but I truly enjoy my time with you. Keep doing what you do. Thank you, Smita. How many pages? I just answered that one. Does each student have a novel? Yes. So it means you should have a certain quantity of novels. Yes, every student has a novel. I always buy 35 copies. I usually have 30 students and I have extra copies in case someone loses a copy. But yes, every student should have a novel. There is like, they need to hold the book. They need to look at the book. Sometimes I ask them to take the book home and read a chapter. Does each student have a novel to read? So it means yes. Do you have them answer comprehension questions as they read, or do you just discuss the book? Oh, I love this question, Chris. Thank you. So I find sometimes I have a couple comprehension questions, but if you have comprehension questions for every chapter, it becomes so boring. You're killing the reading. You're just killing it, and you don't want that. So sometimes, like what I do with comprehension questions is that I throw them during personalized questions and try to make a connection. Like, what did you learn from the chapter? What did he do? So we do it like that. And at the end of every 2 chapters or every 3 chapters, there's not a magic recipe, or at the end of the whole book, I just do a big Kahoot of comprehension questions. It's just more for fun. I know they are understanding, like I know, so I don't need to do comprehension questions per chapter because it kills the love for reading, unless I am unless I know I'm going to be absent for whatever reason. I have a conference or I have a workshop and I have to be absent, then I will leave comprehension questions because I don't get necessarily a TOC that speaks Spanish. So I have to leave plans that the students are self-sufficient with. But otherwise, if I am there, I'm not going to do it because it's killing the love for reading. Do they get the book? Do they get to take the book home all the time? No, they just take the book home if I tell them to take the book home. The book stays in the classroom unless I really need them to read this chapter again, or if someone asks. I have so many students that say, can I take it home because I want to reread the chapter at home? Yes, go for it. But usually the book is with me because I have to also like to make sure to keep track of my books. When you read aloud from the novel, do you stop for comprehension checks? Yes, I do. How do you know that the students are understanding? I stop like every paragraph, every couple paragraphs or every page. I don't like, I vary it and I ask them questions. If I know there is something new, I will ask them, what does it say here? Who can translate this into English? I know this is new. I want to make sure you understand. I ask them questions. They know at this point, they know if you're not understanding, please tell me. So my students at this point, they have no problem raising their hand and say, maestra, I don't know, in Spanish, of course, I don't know what this is. Can you explain this, please? What does it mean, this word? So they have, at this point, they have no problem telling me what they don't understand, and they know they have to. This is their responsibility. So we're pretty open with that. So they will stop me. But yes, I stop like every page, let's say, and then discuss. So all the reading happens during class time? Yes, all the reading happens during class time. If they want to reread a chapter, or if I need them to reread a chapter, I will tell them to take it home. But yes, I want the reading during class time. Unless you are short of time, for whatever reason, you don't have enough time, then you can ask them to read at home. But I like the reading in class because I get to stop and discuss with them, and I prepare the reading in class of each chapter with the personalized questions and everything. So yeah. When one purchases a set of books, what package does the teacher get from you to teach the novel? So if you're gonna buy a class set of books, please contact me, that I will share with you a lot of my materials if you buy it through me. So please contact me. Thank you. It was very interesting. Thank you for your comment. Oh, there are so many good new questions. Some of them are answered. I cannot even keep track of the questions. Okay. I think I answered all of them. I don't know, because when I am reading them and answering them, it suddenly like jumps back to the beginning. So I don't know. How do you get to stop and discuss each kid reads at different speeds? No, because when I am reading as a Jeronima, when I am reading as a class, I set the pace. So I read aloud and then they're following it. If I tell them to read this chapter with a partner or read this chapter on your own in class, I will tell them, you have 20 minutes to read this chapter. So they kind of pace themselves. If your question is really good, if some kids read slower, if you didn't finish, if I say you have 10 minutes to finish this chapter and some kids didn't finish, they know they're responsible. Those are the ones that tell me, can I take this home so I finish the chapter? And then I will let them take the book home. Is the novel study your only item being explored at that time, or do you partner with other tasks, grammar and reading in the same lesson? I never do grammar in the comprehensible input world. We do not do explicit grammar. The grammar is embedded. So that's why I said, when I'm doing personalized questions, I make sure I throw all the subjunctive at the past tense and all the complex structures there so they get familiar with that. I never do explicit grammar. Reading, like when we're doing the reading, that's it. Like we're reading authentic articles, we're listening to authentic videos and news clips and everything at the same time that we're reading the book, that it's the language of the book is pretty authentic. So the grammar is embedded, it is there, so I don't have to do extra explicit grammar. I do not believe in that. So when I'm doing the novel, that's the whole thing. The beauty of IB is that IB doesn't tell you you have to teach explicit grammar. IB doesn't tell you how to teach. They just give you the philosophy of the program and the topics, the themes of the curriculum, and then it is your responsibility, your professional autonomy as a teacher to do it and to do it well, because you have to prepare these kids for the exams that are marked outside the school, like they're written and marked outside. So I have no control over that. So I have to be very responsible in my teaching, and I've always had beautiful, beautiful results with my students. So when I'm doing a novel and I'm making sure I'm teaching, I'm providing comprehensible input, they are acquiring lots and lots of the Spanish, and I'm teaching all the things that I told you I was covering with one novel. Is the novel reading, is incorporated into the curriculum? Well, the curriculum is the 5 things. I don't know if you're seeing my screen right now, but the curriculum is these 5 big topics that you see here with the subtopics. So as you can see, the novel reading allows me to cover the curriculum. So IB has some suggestions for textbooks, but you don't have to follow them. You just have to make sure you cover the curriculum. How do you help with students who have never had CI instruction? Is it difficult for them? Yes, it is a little bit more difficult, but I do not start my semester with a novel. I am reading this novel at the end. So IB is grade 11 and 12. So it's 2 semesters, like 1 full year I see them. So I do this at the end of grade 11. So I've been working on providing a lot of comprehensible input and building robust representations for everyone, especially for those kids that come new to my school with no CI instruction. So they do need a lot of work in building language in their head. So the novel is the way I've closed the first semester, El Cóndor de los Andes, and El Camino del Café is the way I closed the second semester, just right before the exams. Thank you, Anna, for that question. That was really good. How do you help the students to build up their vocabulary to understand the novels? Okay, so this is what I was explaining through PQ. I preload a lot of the vocab that I need for every chapter. So when we're reading, they are familiar with most of the words, and then we might have to translate a couple words. Are there other novels that you use beside the ones that you mentioned? So I use, I'm gonna send that for a minute. I'm back here. So I use with my level 2s, I use this one. I talked about this one before. Me Perdí en Medellín is very cultural, very, very cultural, and it allows the teacher to use a lot of videos and pictures, like picture talk, video talk. So that one is for level 2, and the ones that I showed you. And then I have one more. If you go to my website, you will see them all. I really like, I know I'm gonna sound a little bit biased, but it is what I think. I really like my novels because of the language. The language sounds and it reads really authentic because it's my first language. Of course, I wrote them, so I'm biased. I love my stories or my novels, but I like that the language is not choppy and it flows. So the students get used to the way the Spanish sounds in the written world. And so I like that. I really, those are the ones that I use. With regard to the grammar, do you discuss the linguistic structure grammar, or do you just hope they see the pattern? I don't hope, I know they won't see it, they will feel it. It's the sense of the native speaker. The native speaker has a gut feeling of the grammar. It sounds well or it doesn't sound well. So it's not a hope, it's a feeling that I know they will develop. The only thing that I discuss when I have to discuss it, I give a grammar commercial. I don't discuss the linguistic structure of grammar. I give a grammar commercial, and I call their attention to things like, this is subjunctive. Subjunctive is a tense in Spanish that tries to show like a hope that something happens, and listen to the difference. Tengo, tenga. So when I'm going to say subjunctive, I say like subjunctive. So they start listening to it and making a connection. That's it. I don't go over how you conjugate it, conjugations, rules, nothing. I used to do it before I was a CI teacher. I used to do it. And I never, ever, ever got the results that I get now. What I want is my students using subjunctive naturally because it feels right, not because they know. When they know, they cannot use it. They know the rule, but they have not acquired the Spanish structure. I need them to feel it. When ordering a class set of novels through you, are you able to provide a purchase order or order number? Just contact me. We can figure those things out. How do you use novels to develop their listening skills? I'm talking. Thank you. Thank you for this question. It's very fantastic. Like, I'm talking all the time in Spanish. So they're listening to me. The listening is getting used to this person talking to them in the target language. I use all these videos that I shared with you, like how I use them, news clips, interviews, related to, like, when I do Me Perdí en Medellín, which is level 2. I don't do this with IB. It's an easier novel. I do it in level 2. So these are my grade 10s. I show videos of my city, Medellín. I show videos of people. There are a lot of videos on YouTube of tourists going around the city, or people from Medellín, where they talk and they say, this is this place, this is this other place. And I pause it and I let them listen. I rewind, let's listen again. Do you see what they're saying? I try to always show with closed captions. So they're actually developing lots of listening skills. When you do a novel, you're developing every single skill possible. The songs, people just think that singing is just one, like, oh, fun. No, songs are so powerful. They get to listen the singer every single day and getting used to those words and way of talking and the accent. So if you have questions about my novels, just contact me directly. I don't want to take time of the webinar to talk about that. Just contact me directly, and then through my website. If you go through my website, then there is contact, and then you can contact me directly so we can talk about that. I think some people answered some of the questions, so it moved them away from questions and answers. So if I miss your questions, it's because someone answered them, so I don't see them anymore. And then I think that's it. I think I answer a lot of them. I'm trying to go over them. I think that's it. I don't know. I hope I answered all your questions. If you have, there's a new one here. Do you encourage students to take notes while reading and discuss? No, just pay attention, be engaged with me. If you want to read the chapter, then, and I explain reading, and reading is very powerful. If you want to read the chapter, take notes. But if we are reading together and we're discussing, just be with me. Don't take notes. So I don't encourage that, but I do get a couple of students that want to write a couple of things here and there, so I won't say no either, because those are like learning styles, but I don't encourage it. Okay, so it's been an hour. Okay, so I share all my information with you. I hope it's useful. I hope it can help you and give you an idea on how to use novels. I hope you can actually see how powerful using novels in the advanced classes in every level, but in the advanced classes, it's just like, it helps you covering so much of the curriculum without you noticing and without the students noticing. And I hope I answer all your questions. If you want to contact me, I have a YouTube channel. You go on YouTube and say Adriana Ramirez Teaching Spanish. You'll see my videos, new videos about the novels, or my website is adrianaramirez.ca, and then you'll see a lot of my information there. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate your questions and your time. It's been an hour exactly. That's it. Have a good weekend. Bye.